Everything changed in a matter of seconds. One collapsed trade, one frantic phone call, and suddenly the entire balance of power in the AFC shifted. Welcome to NFL Nexus, everyone. Today, we're diving deep into a collision course that is officially set for the opening Sunday of the 2026 NFL season. We're talking about the unstoppable force versus the immovable object, Colts versus Ravens, Week 1. It is trench warfare of absolutely epic proportions, a violently physical chess match between the unstoppable force of a newly minted Baltimore Raven and the immovable object of the Indianapolis Colts offensive line. In this explainer, we're going to dissect the physical mechanics, the immense psychological weight, and the brutal reality of this impending battle. Before we dive into the granular, violent details of this high-stakes matchup, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and comment on what you thought down below. And look, if you really want to dive deep with us all season long, support the channel by becoming a channel member. Now, let's set the stage for September 13th at Lucas Oil Stadium, a game that carries an atmospheric pressure that the entire league can already feel. So, you really have to ask yourself, what happens when a franchise's absolute biggest offseason miss morphs into their darkest Week 1 nightmare? Because you see, this isn't just a story about a player changing teams. No, this is a story about a master plan blowing up in a general manager's face. Earlier this offseason, Chris Ballard and the Indianapolis Colts were standing right on the precipice of a massive, franchise-altering victory. They had the blueprint ready. They were on the absolute cusp of signing a 4-time Pro Bowler, a former first-team All-Pro defensive end who would have completely transformed the identity of their pass rush. But in the National Football League, the domino effect is ruthless, and it moves incredibly fast. Out in Las Vegas, a blockbuster trade that would have sent edge rusher Max Crosby to the Baltimore Ravens completely fell through. The Ravens, suddenly desperate, scrambling for a top-tier solution, pivoted with terrifying speed. It was a high-stakes heist. In the blink of an eye, Baltimore ripped the Colts' prize target right out of their hands, leaving Indianapolis grasping at thin air. $112 million. Let that number really sink in for a second. $112 million. That is the sheer scale of the financial retaliation Baltimore dropped on the table. A colossal 4-year contract to secure Trey Hendrickson. This wasn't merely a free agent signing, folks. This was a massive declaration of war. When the Ravens missed out on Max Crosby, they didn't just settle for the next best thing. No, they unlocked the vault to bring in one of the most terrifying, relentless edge rushers of this generation. For the Colts, seeing that staggering number flash across the newswire wasn't just a missed opportunity. It was a sickening gut punch to their defensive blueprint. They had a massive, glaring hole on the edge. They had the capital to fix it, but Baltimore swooped in with an aggressive, franchise-altering offer that Indianapolis couldn't or simply wouldn't match in time. And trust me, the psychological weight of that contract hangs over this entire matchup. And this brings us to the twisted psychological warfare of Week 1, September 13th. Trey Hendrickson's highly anticipated debut in a Ravens uniform won't happen in the friendly, familiar confines of M&T Bank Stadium. No, he is walking directly into Indianapolis. Right onto the Colts' home turf, he's stepping onto the field against the exact team that just months prior thought he was going to be their absolute savior. You can feel the tension already, can't you? Hendrickson will be the key cog in this brand new Baltimore defense under head coach Jesse Minter. They are coming into Lucas Oil Stadium with incredibly bad intentions. Hendrickson is bringing his trademark, relentless, violent style straight into the house of the team that let him slip away. It's literally an opening day script written with pure bad blood. But here is where the plot really thickens, and where a Week 1 matchup becomes a waking nightmare for Indianapolis. We have to talk about the Lou Anarumo advantage. The Ravens didn't just sign Trey Hendrickson to a massive contract. They reunited him with their new defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo. This is the absolutely critical, dangerous detail that changes everything. From 2019 to 2024, Anarumo was the mastermind in Cincinnati, overseeing Hendrickson's transformation into an elite, game-wrecking force. Anarumo isn't just a coach to him. He is the architect of Hendrickson's prime. He knows every single one of Hendrickson's tendencies. He knows his preferred pass rush angles. He knows exactly how he bends the edge, how he sets up his counter moves, and what makes him tick violently on a Sunday. And now, Anarumo is in Baltimore, specifically tasked with unleashing that perfectly tuned weapon against the Colts. The devastation Hendrickson caused under Anarumo isn't just impressive, it's genuinely terrifying. Let's look at the actual numbers here. In 2021, 14 sacks and 27 hits on the quarterback. By 2023, that production escalated to 17.5 sacks, and then came his absolute magnum opus in 2024, 17.5 sacks to lead the entire National Football League, 19 tackles for loss, first-team All-Pro honors, and an astonishing 36 quarterback hits. Now, stop and think about that. These aren't just numbers on a page. A quarterback hit is a violent car crash. It is the physical toll that degrades a quarterback's mechanics, shatters their internal clock, and quite literally ruins their season. This is a chilling reminder of a player who violently dictates the terms of engagement on every single snap. He doesn't get lucky coverage sacks, he beats the man in front of him, and he punishes the man with the ball. Now, we do have to address the elephant in the room regarding his 2025 season. It was noticeably quiet. But context here is absolutely vital for understanding the true threat he poses right now. This was a temporary setback, entirely derailed by a severe core muscle injury. You have to understand the brutal physics of playing defensive end. Your core is your engine. A core muscle injury completely saps the explosive torque and rotational strength an elite edge rusher relies on to turn the corner and anchor against 300-pound men. Without that torque, you are completely neutralized. He was limited to just 7 incredibly painful games, but please do not let that fool you into a false sense of security. He is now fully recovered. The Ravens didn't hand out $112 million without clearing his medicals with a fine-tooth comb. Hendrickson is returning with a massive chip on his shoulder, ready to prove that 2025 was a fluke. The Vengeance Tour officially starts in Indy. When you swing and miss on a generational titan, the fallbacks rarely soften the blow. Since Indianapolis couldn't secure Hendrickson, they were forced into a panicked scramble, essentially patching the gaping hole on their defensive line with veterans Arden Key and Michelle Clemens. Let's be brutally honest here. Neither of these players possesses anywhere close to the elite, game-altering pedigree of Trey Hendrickson. They are solid rotational pieces. They can set the edge against the run, but they aren't keeping opposing offensive coordinators awake in cold sweats at 3 in the morning. The massive drop-off in talent between a premium alpha dog and a rotational veteran is staggering. The Colts missed out, and that failure doesn't just hurt their defense. It places a terrifying, immense burden directly on the shoulders of their offense to outscore whatever chaos Hendrickson creates on the exact opposite side of the ball. But this is exactly where the dynamic of this matchup shifts dramatically. Because if Hendrickson is the unstoppable force, we must introduce the immovable object. Enter Colts offensive line coach Tony Sparano Jr. I want you to listen very closely to this quote from his first training camp because it perfectly encapsulates the violent, gritty philosophy he has instilled in this unit. We get stronger the longer it goes. We take them to deep water, and we see if those guys can swim or if they'll drown. That is not just standard coach speak, guys. That is the declaration of war. Sparano Jr. doesn't just build blockers, he builds brawlers. He has transformed this unit into a group that thrives on pure attrition. They are specifically designed to wear down defensive lines well into the fourth quarter. Hendrickson thrives on relentlessness, but Sparano's line is specifically engineered to drag relentless rushers into the deep end and hold them under. Outside of Chris Ballard's drafting, no single person is more responsible for the success of this line than Sparano Jr. We're looking at a consensus top 5 unit in the National Football League here. From left to right, you've got Bernhard Raimann, a raw prospect who blossomed into a $100 million franchise left tackle, Quentin Nelson, a man whose legendary brutal style has him on a first-ballot Hall of Fame trajectory, Tanner Bortolini holding down the center, Matt Goncalves at right guard, and finally, Jalen Travis at right tackle. This group is built as a fortress, and the stakes for this fortress could not possibly be higher. The Colts are betting the entire future of their franchise on the resurgence of quarterback Daniel Jones, who is returning from a devastating, career-altering Achilles tear. For Jones, protection is not a luxury. It is sheer survival. If this line falters, if Hendrickson gets home, the season collapses before it even begins. And that brings us to the tipping point. The crushing responsibility of stopping Trey Hendrickson falls squarely on the shoulders of second-year right tackle Jalen Travis. And let me tell you, those shoulders are massive. 6'8", 340 pounds, Travis is a physical mammoth. He is a towering giant stepping into the massive void left by longtime starting tackle Braden Smith. Let's really look at the biomechanics of this clash for a second. When a 6'8", 340-pound man tries to block a speed rusher, it is a game of ultimate leverage versus gravity. Hendrickson will use his veteran bend, speed-to-power transitions, and elite torque to try and collapse the pocket right beneath Travis's pads. But Travis, he has raw, heavy hands, an incredible wingspan, and sheer gravitational mass. He has the physical profile to anchor against the bull rush and literally swallow a defender whole. The ultimate question is whether his raw youth and developing technique can hold up against Hendrickson's vast, highly refined arsenal of veteran pass rush moves. But you know what? There is hard, undeniable evidence that Travis might just be the real deal. He spent most of his rookie season quietly developing as an understudy. But when Braden Smith went down in Week 15 against the Jaguars, Travis was thrown into the absolute fire. He was forced into a brutal 5-game stretch to end the 2025 season, playing entirely against playoff-bound opponents, including the Jaguars twice, the 49ers, the Seahawks, and the Texans. And he became a literal brick wall. On 168 pass-blocking snaps against elite edge rushers, he allowed just one single sack, only 10 total pressures. Pro Football Focus graded this gauntlet as a top 25 offensive tackle performance in the entire league. Think about that. He didn't just survive the deep water, he proved he could drag elite, veteran defenders down into it with him. The belief inside the Indianapolis facility is absolute. Just listen to how head coach Shane Steichen framed it back in February.
I think there's huge upside with Jalen. Excited what the future holds.
Look, this is not a front office panicking about a blind spot on their offensive line. This is a team pushing all of their chips to the absolute center of the table. They firmly believe they have struck gold in the 4th round once again. They let a proven veteran like Braden Smith walk in free agency specifically because they believe Jalen Travis is ready to be a full-time enforcer. It is a massive franchise-defining gamble. Because potential and late-season flashes are one thing, but week 1, with the entire league watching, against a $112 million pass rusher looking to validate his new contract, well, that is an entirely different, suffocating level of pressure. And so it all comes down to this. This is the ultimate game within the game. This isolated battle on the edge will dictate the momentum, the rhythm, and the final score of this critical season opener. On one side, the unstoppable force, Trey Hendrickson. The veteran, the all-pro, the technician armed with violent hands, an endless motor, and a defensive coordinator in Lou Anarumo who knows exactly how to maximize his destruction. On the other side, the immovable object, Jalen Travis. 6'8", 340 pounds of raw upside, youthful power, and sheer mass, forged in the deep water of Tony Sperano Jr.'s gritty philosophy. Will Hendrickson's veteran savvy and explosive speed exploit the sophomore tackle's footwork? Or will Travis's sheer mass and wingspan neutralize the Ravens' newest, most expensive weapon? It is a brilliant collision of two drastically different football philosophies. So we're left staring down the ultimate question. Can the Indianapolis Colts stave off Trey Hendrickson's relentless assault to secure a massive Week 1 victory? Will the immovable object of Jalen Travis drown the unstoppable force in deep water, protecting a fragile Daniel Jones? Or will Hendrickson prove to the entire world that the Colts made the biggest, most catastrophic mistake of their offseason by letting him slip away to Baltimore? September 13th cannot come fast enough. This isn't just a game. It is a war in the trenches that could dictate the entire balance of power in the AFC for the rest of the year. Thank you so much for diving into this with us. If you loved this deep dive, remember to subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and leave a comment with your exact prediction for this matchup. And again, if you want to support NFL Nexus and keep these premium deep dives coming, support the channel by becoming a channel member. Until next time, keep your eyes on the trenches.